At any point during Ms. Heard's and Mr. Depp's relationship, did you ever see any injuries on Ms. Heard?
No.
How about on Mr. Depp?
Yes.
When did you observe injuries on Mr. Depp?
The first time would have been around 2014, I guess, in which he had his finger was damaged from an incident in Australia.
Do you know how Mr. Depp's finger was damaged?
Objection. Foundation.
Foundation?
It's just background if he knows. I won't ask the full
I'll
the following
sustain the
question.
objection unless he was in Australia and saw it himself.
Okay.
Okay.
When else did you see injuries on Mr. Depp?
I saw another injury around, would have been March of 2015. He had a swollen kind of cheekbone eyelid.
Your Honor, if I may please pull up a photograph, exhibit number 146,
All right, just to the witness? Okay.
just for the witness, that's
Okay.
correct.
I'm sorry, 146?
Yes, thank you, Your
Okay,
Honor.
thank you.
And that's plaintiffs, obviously.
Plaintiffs,
Exhibit 146. Mr. Bett, do you recognize this photograph?
I do,
And how do you recognize it?
because I took that picture.
Why did you take this photograph?
Well, we needed it as evidence in case Ms. Heard tried to make allegations towards Mr. Depp. I was emphatic with him, telling him that's a serious mark and we need to photograph it.
I'll just move to strike for foundation.
I'll allow that answer, but thank you.
And when did you take this photograph?
It would have been around March of 2015.
Your Honor, we ask that this photograph please be published to the jury and admitted into evidence.
Any objection to 146?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 146 in evidence and be published to the jury. Thank you.
Mr. Bett, what does this photograph show?
It depicts a swollen upper left cheekbone with redness to it.
Thank you. Did you notice any other injuries on Mr. Depp?
On that specific day, no.
Later in time, did you ever notice any other injuries on Mr. Depp?
I did.
Can you please describe what you recall?
It was around December of that same year, 2015. He got into an argument with Ms. Heard and she scratched him and he had injuries.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain the objection, only your observations, sir, what you saw.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Bett, can you please describe the injury that you saw on Mr. Depp?
Yes, he had scratch marks around his nose area. I believe on one of the sides of his face in the cheek area and then on his forehead.
And if we could just have, just published to the witness, plaintiff's exhibit number 65.
65.
And Mr. Bett, this is a 3-page document, so if I can have Mr. Arnold Blair please scroll down.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Do you recognize these photographs?
I do,
And how do you recognize them?
because I took them.
When did you take them?
Mid-December 15th.
And why did you take these photographs?
I took him to show proof that he once again had injuries sustained in an altercation.
Your Honor, we'll move to publish these photographs to the jury and for admittance.
All right, any objection to 65?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 65 in evidence, it can be published.
And Mr. Bett, would you please describe what we're looking at here?
The first picture, there's a laceration on the left side of his nose. It looks like the left upper cheek has a slight bruise to it. And then on his forehead, right above the ridge line, just almost to the center, it looks like there's a red scratch mark above his left eye and to the right.
Do you see that in the same subsequent pictures in page 2?
Okay, page 2, I see a scratch mark, a vertical scratch mark adjacent to his right ear on the right side of his face.
Same question for page 3.
Page 3, there's a scratch mark on the lower right portion of his chin. There's that same scratch mark on the center left side of his nose, and you could see the frontal portion of that bruise that's on the left side under his eye.
Were you surprised to see Mr. Depp with these injuries?
Objection, leading.
All right, I'll sustain as to leading.
Did you ever see any similar injuries on Ms. Heard?
None.
Did you ever see any injuries on Ms. Heard?
I didn't.
Did Ms. Heard ever tell you she was being abused by Mr. Depp?
She didn't.
Did she ever ask you for help?
No.
Did you ever see any evidence that Ms. Heard was being abused by Mr. Depp?
I didn't.
Turning to April 21st, 2016, Mr. Betts, do you remember anything about that day?
Yes, that was the day or evening that Ms. Heard was celebrating her birthday with some friends.
Do you recall what birthday Ms. Heard was celebrating?
I'm sorry?
Do you recall what birthday Ms. Heard was celebrating?
I believe it was her 30th, 29th or 30th.
Your Honor, if we may, can we just remove the exhibits?
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
sorry. Thank you.
Other than Ms. Heard's birthday celebration that evening, do you recall anything else about April 21st, 2016?
He had a meeting that afternoon, and which extended into the evening, and that was as I said, the night of her birthday party, where they got into another argument, and she had struck him in the face.
All right,
Objection, move to strike, Your Honor.
sir, if you didn't see it, you can't testify to it, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The jury will strike that answer. Thank you.
Your Honor. Were you with Mr. Depp when he attended the meeting that you mentioned earlier?
I was.
Okay. And if you know, who was that meeting with?
It was with his accountant,
And who is Mr. Depp's accountant?
Ed White.
And where did that meeting take place?
It took place at his old production office in the Los Angeles area.
What happened after the meeting ended?
When the meeting ended, we drove to his West Hollywood address, which might have been maybe 5-10 minutes away. He had to go inside the house and retrieve something. I don't know what it was. We were only there a short period of time, And we were kind of rushing because, we had been running late because it was a birthday dinner. And then we eventually left thereafter and headed back down to the penthouses downtown Los Angeles.